You've seen black metal buildings before, but not like this one. This 30 by 60 red iron beast is blacked out from top to bottom, and for the first time ever on our YouTube, all black spray foam.
Want to know how much this cost? Let's jump into the video and break it down. Let's get this going.
Welcome back, Pack. It's Anadela and Ernesto here from WolfSteel Buildings, and today we're going all the way back to Hill Country to go check out this 30 by 60 red iron metal building with all blacked out spray foam.
Now, if you haven't watched the tour yet, be sure to click the link above or below so that you guys can definitely check that out. This building is easily my top 5.
I think it's a top 5 for the whole team, so definitely make sure you guys check it out, and also make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are posting behind the scenes when we go out there to film, and also some stuff when we're out there getting framing up for you guys.
So let's be sure to dive deep into this 30 by 60 all black red iron building.
Alrighty, Ernesto, so for the main reason of this building and what everybody wants to know, what is the cost of this 30 by 60 blacked out red iron beast?
So the total turnkey cost is $113,974.84. Now, of course, all that includes here, you're talking about a 30 by 60 red iron metal building with a 14 by 30 lean-to. Of course, this is foundation, multiple accessories, blacked out spray foam, all materials, labor, equipment, taxes, delivered and installed.
The whole shebang.
Mm-hmm.
We were saying the whole shebang. So all the bells and whistles, like we do like to say here at WolfSteel Buildings. And again, as a reminder, pricing is valid for 5 days after the posting period. So the posting date that we will be posting it will be linked down below. And then also pricing can change according to your location. This is just typically, maybe your building has to be built differently because of your local codes. If you're in certain areas and there's like a wind load package, things like that, definitely applies to your pricing on here. Ernie, I think this building is the perfect example of making the building yours. So he added a bunch of different touches and like accessories to make sure that the building kind of stood out. We don't really need an intricate size or a lot of things on there. You know, he added lots of great accessories and kind of a little bit of a different layout.
Yeah, because ultimately, like she mentioned, right, it's a building, but then it's got its accents. Because like I said, you're starting off with a 30-foot wide, 60-foot long, 15-foot to the eaves. The roof pitch is actually the standard roof pitch. It's actually a 312 roof pitch. But again, I think he added one of my favorite accessories, which is that 2-foot overhang.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that gives it that residential, you know, look, accessory. I've had a lot of customers give me great feedback that just changes the look of the building completely. What I really like about it too is that it has a soffit underneath. So we actually add paneling underneath to give it that nice finished look. And
it looks more complete versus sometimes when they have like framing showing, it can give it a different look. It just kind of looks definitely more residential and more completed.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, all of our red irons come standard with that 26 gauge PBR panel, which of course, in my opinion, I think it's one of the toughest in the industry.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, the color scheme, Ernie. What do we have?
I mean, as you can see, like I said, I know marketing showing all those nice B-rolls, but yeah, we got a full blacked out building. Like I said, roof, trim, sides, gutters, and downspouts, all black.
Blacked out, and the spray foam, which is the biggest one. So all blacked out spray foam. We do have a video on spray foam, which we'll be linking for you guys here. And then one thing to point out, Ernie, is the mezzanine. So you'll notice that we did talk about it in the tour. So once again, we hope that you guys have checked out the tour. If not, check it out after here. The tour is a post-install addition that the client did. Ernie, of course, we do also offer mezzanines. There's a couple videos on our YouTube on this. So is it something that you guys recommend, or what would you, from your salesman, right, as a sales director, what do you guys tell the clients when they say, hey, I want to get a mezzanine? Before, after, what are the steps that they take here?
So there's definitely different ways to go about it. One of the biggest things is that the moment that we know that a mezzanine is going to go in, right, you do have options. Because if we do the mezzanine, that's telling us that you want a steel mezzanine. But of course, with us, we want to make sure that it's engineered.
Correct.
You know, you can't put a price on peace of mind, and your safety is top priority. So anytime that you're wanting a steel mezzanine with our buildings, now you're talking about a fully engineered building as well as the mezzanine.
Yeah, so in this case, the client got a weld up, he would need to switch to a bolt up.
Correct. But in this case, right, he's got a non-engineered weld up, which again, perfectly fine. Now, of course, since he's wanting a mezzanine, the alternative option here is just to build within. So like I said, as you'll see here, and of course with us, you know, not doing the mezzanine for this customer, he actually just built within the structure. So he actually didn't integrate into the actual strength or integrity of the structure. That way it doesn't jeopardize it, but you can always build within. And honestly, it's something that I've always recommended when I was in the sales game, because it's also a cost-effective option if you do want to build a mezzanine within the structure.
Yeah, so it's self-supporting, not really attached to the building itself. Definitely possible.
Yeah, one of the biggest things also is to take into consideration like your eave height, right? Because you do want that upper level for you to have enough space, take into consideration your roof pitch, everything like that. But like I said, if you tell your salesman that you do want a mezzanine, be ready to, you know, receive some options in regards to either going a fully engineered route with us doing the mezzanine, but also, you know, outsourcing it yourself on the inside, because you will save on cost. And like I said, the outcome is still great. I'm a big fan of this building.
Yeah. It's your top 5. Moving on to doors and windows, Ernie. The client brought in his own doors, which honestly I think gave the biggest personality to this building.
No, I definitely did. You know, I do want to clarify, the customer actually opted to get his own custom doors.
Outsourced.
They were just tailored to his liking, right? Now, however, you know, we could get those glass doors. That's something we've done before. I'm sure that's something that we'll definitely do again.
Yeah, we do have a project. Sorry to interrupt you, but we do have a project that I'm really excited for us to go out there to. I think we're going to film it pretty soon. It is in the San Antonio, Austin area down there, and we are in Fort Worth, so it's going to be quite a bit of drive. But those glass doors that he has on the building are so worth it, so I'm excited to check those out.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be worth it to check out those doors for sure. Now, of course, we do prep the building for those doors, right? We already have the frame outs set, ready to go, all trimmed out, even ready for them to install the door. This particular customer does have 2 14x14 frame outs, 1 10x10 frame out on that front gable, and then 2 10x10 frame outs on the back gable.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna talk a little bit about the spray foam, which is one of the biggest things that we have about this building. But I honestly think that because he had really tall building and his doors were glass, a dark color can make things feel very daunting, very like caved in. And I think these doors made it feel very open, especially because he's able to see that. And I think he probably mentioned that to Advil because they talked about that on the tour. He's able to see all points of his property because of all those frame mounts that we did. For windows too, he also added those to be able to open up the space even more and also help with the mezzanine that he does have. He did have 4 36x36 double pane insulated windows. One thing we would like to point out, and you just mentioned it, but very, very important, if you're getting windows and doors, and that is your garage doors, your walk-in doors, any type of service doors, windows, whether we're installing or not, we would prefer for those to be on site. I know that you guys tell your sales, you guys always mention to the client, if you're outsourcing your doors, not an issue, make the building yours, as we've been mentioning for this one. We just do need to make sure that we do have it to make sure that we prepare the building for the doors that you're going to be adding on there.
Yeah, I'd say walk-in doors and windows are one of the biggest factors to definitely have on site the day of install. Biggest reason for that is just solving for the biggest, what I like to say is the biggest risk to any building, which is water.
Yeah.
Right, it's that water seepage that could come in, and honestly those frame outs are extremely crucial to solve for the exact measurements. So having your custom window, your custom walk-in door on site is fundamental so that those installers can get the exact measurement and then make the actual frame to what it needs to be to prevent those leaks as much as possible.
Yeah, and then also with red irons, it's easy to make those adjustments, you know, once we're there, especially because it's a weld up. But going back to the building, guys, the building does have a lean-to, and I want to point out, we'll go over a little bit about the dimensions, but this lean-to is a little different. It doesn't have them what we typically see, which is like on the sides, off to either or also we've seen a lot of roof extensions, which is that gable end extension. This one is a lean-to off of the gable end, so it makes it more porchy residential look.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the look personally because like I said, you have a lot of buildings that you got a specific width and a specific length to just solve for a lean-to size. But I always tell customers, widths are more expensive than lengths.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, you can always turn your building around and put that lean-to on the gable like this customer and kind of solve for that cost-effective option where you can also find that aesthetic that I found extremely well with this building.
Yeah. Then another thing about this lean-to is it also has the cedar on the lean-to. So definitely gave it a different touch, connected. He has a lot, seems to be in like a wooded area. I didn't go out there, I know that Eduardo, who's recording us, and then also our building team have been out there. So I'm sure they probably saw it. It seems more of like a wooded area, so you're able to really connect the building, even though it's all blacked out, connect the building to the surrounding areas.
Alrighty, so the dimensions of the lean-to is actually a 14-foot wide by 30-foot long. Now this is running the actual width of the building, right?
Yeah.
So like I said, you kind of confuse a little bit of the widths and lengths
And
here.
lengths, yeah.
But considering this is on that front section of the building, like I said, it is the 30-foot length of the actual lean-to itself.
One thing I always learned about widths and lengths, especially like because it's counterintuitive in our like the metal building industry versus like construction, because I don't know if it's math. Back in the day, we were taught length times width times height, because width, as you mentioned, is the highest driver of price. Every time, think of length where your legs are falling.
Perfect. That is a clear example for sure. Now I know that the main building is a 15-foot tall, so we do step down just simple 1 foot there, starting from 14. Now it does go down to 12, so you do have that 2-foot drop.
And then that's where the cedar posts are at on that lean-to.
Yeah, now those posts are 8-inch by 8-inch. Now they are stained. I know one big thing is that you can always pick maybe like your favorite stain if you want it a little bit darker, a little bit lighter. So you do have options.
So one thing that we would like to mention for cost breakdown on the building and lean-to for the investment of everything that we've been mentioning, the total cost comes out to $70,855 with 84 cents. Again, including everything we mentioned on the main building, the lean-to. He also got painted frames. So he got soffit on the 2-foot overhang, but he did not get a soffit finish under the lean-to. But he did paint those. Originally come in red, hence a red iron metal building. He did paint those to be black. And of course, all our red iron buildings do require equipment. There's always labor fees, taxes, and then there is porta potties that are associated with being out here for so long. All the materials, the delivery, pretty much everything that we have on there, that's what the total cost investment you would be looking at.
The whole shebang. All right, Anna, that like we always say, right, the building is only as strong as the concrete that it's sitting on, right?
Foundation.
Now the foundation is always, set to be made exactly for the building, right? One of the biggest things I've always said, we want to make sure that the shoe fits.
Correct.
So, one of the biggest things here, we did do everything for him, right? And then we can definitely break down those numbers.
Yeah, so from start to finish, again, you don't want to be walking around with a shoe that fits you big or small. It brings headaches and pains to your feet. It brings headaches and pain to the metal builder, and also for you on a lot of different things. But the total cost for this concrete was $27,707 even. And that includes everything that we do standard in our concrete. This building had a 4-inch slab for the main building and the lean-to. We did have the notch edge detailing all around the building and also on the door. So big thing, important. Even if we didn't do the doors, we knew those doors were going to be coming in. So communication, very important. We still got them to make sure that he didn't have any water seepage in those 5 garage doors. And then also in his walk-in doors. Vapor barrier, standard for us. Perimeter and interior footers. And of course, we did also do a 2-inch slope on the lean-to, and that is just for water drainage to make sure that it slopes out any water that goes in there. It was raining all day today and today here, and we're seeing it from the office, and the rain is literally slanted. So definitely we don't know how rain is going to work here in Texas. So slanted, upside down, wherever the heck the water is coming from, we're already accounting for that with a 2-inch slope on this building.
Yeah, biggest enemy to any construction, I've always said, right, is water. Those notches are extremely important, not just on the door, the perimeter of the building, even as far as like the slope on the lean-to. All that is actually fundamental. Even on our actual posts of the actual, whether they're cedar posts, cedar encased, whatever the case might be, we actually elevate that just a little bit over the surface of the concrete. Why? We don't want that wood to be actually touching the actual concrete itself, because at the end of the day, it's going to immediately start to, you know, wear out and stuff like that. So those little attention to details, especially on the concrete side, super important for any kind of building.
Yes, a couple things that we don't typically include in the building price, or the concrete price, I'm sorry, is leak site prep, or also when our team goes out there. This is really important. That site visit makes a difference, right? So we'll look at, is there drainage that needs to be accounted for? Is things like that, and that's where, you know, hey, I'm gonna get cedar posts. Okay, let's start kind of seeing where your ideas are. Typically it rains like this, or hey, you might have to have a retainer wall. Things like that. Those are always things to look out for, and why that really important for us to go out there for that.
Yeah, I agree. Now to the part that I know you guys have been seeing in this whole video, right? You're talking about the gutter system, you're talking about the spray foam completely being all black to match the outside of the building, right? Now this client did actually opt out to go with the spray foam to get that full thermal control. You're talking about 2 inches on the roof, 1 inch on the wall, and of course, again, he had to match the outside, so he went ahead and opted for that black color of the spray foam.
He had a theme and he needed to stick with it. So definitely something that he got on there, and then also the gutter system. I think it just honestly ties everything together. But the total for these accessories came out to $15,412. Again, this does include full spray foam, which is the blacked out spray foam. It does also include the gutters and downspouts and the labor and the material, everything that goes into that. If you are curious about spray foam and colored spray foam, and you know, pricing on those and our values, we did do a video on that. Spray foam, we actually do go over the fact that black spray foam is the most, or the priciest that we offer, apart from the white and the gray. So we do go over that in that video. That video will be linked in the description down below, but it should also be popping up on top for you. But everything comes out to $113,974 with 84 cents. That should be popping up on the screen for you here. Ernesto, Mr. Sales Director. So as you know, here at WolfSteel Buildings, we offer both red iron and tubular metal buildings. So we offer 2 different product lines. All just depends on the client needs and also budgets, anything of that sort. So if the client would have chosen tubular over red iron, what are we looking at for pricing?
So the total for a tubular steel building, you'd be looking at $99,351. Now, of course, that still includes everything, but of course, it's just a little bit more of a budget-friendly option.
So if looking at pricing, and if someone were to ask you, you're smiling because you're like, what are you gonna ask me? Why would someone choose tubular over a red iron building?
I mean, ideally, just like how you mentioned earlier before, right? I mean, with us, to me personally, I feel like nothing's set in stone. I feel like it's never take it or leave it. The benefit of being a company that offers both options is that, again, you have both options to consider. One of the biggest things that I always ask customers, especially if they're going to be using it for utility, you can never go wrong with the tubular option. That is just the reality of it. One of the biggest elephant in the room questions that people ask is integrity of the building, right? Which one is stronger? Now, ideally, it all comes down to the construction of the building, right? So tubular, they're both built to code, so you'll never go wrong with the integrity side of the building. So you're taking care of there. Now you're just talking about being a little bit more cost effective in the process. Now, of course, you can always solve for that aesthetic, because that's one thing that red iron does have, is the aesthetic appeal of maybe the spacings, where tubular you have all those per se trusses and you have the base rail like on the lean-to, how this customer has it. You can always solve for an aesthetic, and I'm sure maybe we can put some pictures of customers that have done it before, but you can always solve for a frame out, cedar post, and solve for that aesthetic while still being a lot more cost effective.
Yeah, the biggest difference is just how much material is in it. Ernie, what a build. Honestly, as we mentioned, this customer had, you know, a 30'x60, and he literally made it his and made it stand out. We've been talking and yapping about it for about 15-20 minutes now. But, you know, anything from the cedar post, the mezzanine that he did, things that he did on his own, like those doors and things like that. The blacked out spray foam, which was the biggest thing that we had in this building. Lots of customizations and really just making it yours. I would like to give a huge shout out to our whole entire team. So many people go through a project, anywhere from permitting, process. He didn't have permitting on this one, but like processing, obviously your sales team, something that probably still came across your desk. And then also our building team, our concrete team, everyone plays a part in making sure that this building and whatever it is that you bring to us becomes a reality. WolfSteel Buildings is able to handle it from start to finish, and we're also able to bring it to you. So shout out to our marketing team, because we're also able to bring it to you by going out there and giving you guys ideas. So if you're enjoying buildings like this, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more ideas, more videos, more buildings, and a lot more educational coming your way. Don't forget to drop us a comment on things that you guys would like to see, so we can go ahead and get that recorded for you.
Now, of course, we'll definitely be sure to see you in the next video. What's up, Pack? Remember to stay up to date with everything that we're up to by checking out our social media. You can find us at WolfSteel Buildings for behind the scenes action. We share our latest projects, update on what the team is working on, and all the exciting progress happening in real time. Don't miss out on the action, and remember to give us a follow.